Okay. None. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy Friday. Who do we have? Who do we have with us tonight? I just little bit behind, just a minute or two behind. Sorry. I had to call the dogs in. And I had gone out there to take care of them and the chickens and all that. And I forgot to bring in their big thing of dog food. It's still sitting out there. So Dean's going to run through here in a minute and go get it for me. Hey, Lynn. Happy New Year, Bree. Thank you again for the cookbook. That is just so sweet of you. I've really been enjoying reading it. Yes, I read cookbooks just like they're regular books. Did anybody do anything particularly fun, or were you like me and Dean and I think we had some snacks and watched a movie, and we watched some episodes of Mountain Men, and I was just tired. I just went to bed. I'm beyond that stuff now, I think. Just kind of been trying to get back in the groove. We did take that Twixmas. And that's what it was called, in the article that Dean was reading. And it's really been good for both of us to have that time, that quiet time together, just doing whatever. We get what needs to be done around here, obviously, but like not the usual routine, just enjoying. I had enough leftovers from Christmas that we ate on, just kind of grazed for a couple days. And I really just started cooking the other day. So it's been nice. Jamie's and watched YouTube. That's my kind of evening, Lynn. That's kind of like us. I just, there's too much going on. I talked to my son and I got a text from my daughter, but I was kind of worried about them because they're still relatively early 20s. And I told both of them, of course, my son and his girlfriend were already out, but I told both of them, stay off the roads, if at all possible, stay at home. But they're not going to, my daughter said she was home, but my son, he and his girlfriend were out. And, I just talked to them the next day. But things like Memorial Day and New Year's and all that kind of stuff, I just hate being on the road during that time anymore. But the chat didn't post. What do you mean, Bray? I don't understand. Oh, I did want to tell you, excuse me for the candy in my mouth. I did find the place on the lives where it had for the monetization to roll, and I turned it off. So if you see any interruptions tonight, let me know immediately, please, because from the way I understand it and the way I read, what I'm supposed to do, it's turned off. Oh, Lynn, you're in the middle of a snowstorm. You're getting so much wonderful snow. You're so lucky. I guess, and we oh my gosh, the past 2 days here have been nothing but rain. And no matter how many times we have vacuumed this hardwood floor, it's still just, we can't mop yet because the dogs, come in. And so we just keep vacuuming and it's driving me crazy. But before we got on, I was watching some of these videos of, and I want to ask your opinion on this, or if it's just me feeling a little crazy. And I'm kind of off today for some reason. But I've been watching these videos about whole house resets. And so I'm kind of watching them and seeing what they do. And I'm kind of like, well, I kind of do that on pretty much an everyday basis, but my house doesn't quite look like that. So I just didn't know if you guys watch them, what you think. I'd like to glean what you guys maybe do, I know there's a lot of people that going into the new year, like they just tear everything apart and clean it and all that. And I just have not felt compelled. Um, so I've just been doing our regular stuff. I won't take down our Christmas decorations until Epiphany. So, that gives me a couple of extra days. But yeah, I mean, I usually do a deep cleaning like that in the fall and usually in the spring, and that's about it. But I was just watching them and I guess wondering what you guys thought, or if any of you do that. If you do, what do you do? So, also, today, yesterday, past couple days, I have read every page. I'll talk about this one first, of my seed catalog. Thank you, Lynn. You don't follow rules. You just clean what you feel like or when it needs it. Yeah. Yeah. And it my stuff kind of just falls into a routine, and during the winter when, the weather's cruddy and stuff, I just kind of outline what I know I need to do in that week and get it done whenever. I'm just not real strict that way. But, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just, like I said, I'm a little off today, but I've been seeing like a lot of picture perfect stuff lately. And I'm kind of like, am I missing something here? Oh, nice, Brie. You've been canning all week. 20 quarts of soup and 24 pints of meat. Oh, yay. What type of meat have you been canning? I've done a lot of soup, and I'm starting to come up with some empty jars, which will take me to another thing I want to talk about tonight. But I haven't done really much meat yet. Bean and ham and chicken and vegetables. I've done the chicken and vegetable soup. I've done some hamburger soup, but I do need to do some ham and bean. Julie, how are you? How's your mom doing? I've been thinking about you. But so I was looking through my seed catalog here. And I also, of course, looked through the Azures. And I just this year didn't feel like getting on a bunch of different seed catalogs. So I went through here. Of course, like I said, I read it like a book. And I'm going to try some different things this year. But then I've also realized what I need to do. And so I started doing is I went through this pantry cabinet, and that's where most of the canned goods are. And when I do the garden, what I consider canned goods are things that I can. So I was like, wow, I have a lot of beet products. So even though I had originally planned to grow beets, I marked it off the list. If I have tons of pickle beets and beet relish and different things like that, and we still have 30 pints and several quarts of beet relish, I just don't need to do it. And so I need to kind of go through that this year. It's not so much about my organization this year as that I'm kind of getting the hang of what grows well here, when I can plant it, and I'm learning still how much of it to plant. But Bree, you've been canning chicken, sausage, and beef stew and ground beef. Girl, you have been so busy. Have you just been doing this today? I mean, have you been busy like this over the whole Christmas week? Feel kind of lazy now. Happy New Year, Julie. Navy bean soup, broccoli, cheddar, and oh, that sounds so good. I love all of those. Love them all. We Christmas Day, when I was cleaning up, we had a spiral ham. And so I pulled some off of it for us to eat as leftovers for a couple days. And then I have the ham bone in the freezer, and then a couple other little chunks, in the freezer. And so I need to pull out and do some ham and bean soup. Well, like the first day that we ran out of leftovers, that's what I did. I just made a quick ham and bean soup. But for the first time ever in my life, we took off this week from just, doing any regular stuff. that we would have done chores out. Well, we've done the chickens, but I've done nothing with the garden or where the chickens were staying. The dogs, come and go. And it's just basically been a week of relaxing, watching movies, eating well, reading, enjoying each other's company. And it's really been really nice. The first time ever in our life we've ever done something like this. And it's been very relaxing. And we just didn't realize how worn out we were until we got a few days in. But it's been super nice, and I'm hoping that it'll be something that Dean and I can continue to make a tradition from here on out. But that does sound good, Julie. I love all those soups. I love them. Potato soup. Are you canning any of it, or did y'all just, I'm sure it's, still at your house, the food is going pretty quick since you still have kids at home. Oh no, poor Charles. He had the flu. Oh, I'm so sorry. Freeze it. That's good because then you can just drop it in the crock pot and be done with it for the day. I've been thinking about you going back to Pennsylvania. I was wondering when you were, how things were going there. Like I said, Lynn, it's the first time we've done that we've taken this time off. And even when we were still working regular, what do you call it? Just regular jobs. Dean always had more time than I did. And he always had like 2 weeks off at Christmas, but his were usually, he went to work like right after the new year. And I kind of worked up to the last minute, went right back to work right after the new year. But we've never had this time like this. So it's been nice. It's been nice. But it was quiet here, and I still miss things about back east. But it's been good. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about the seeds, right? So I found some new stuff that I'm going to grow. Realized that I need to, when I was looking through my freezer, that I don't have any greens in there that lasted us through the fresh season. So I have no collards or anything frozen. So I need to do more of those. And since the cherry tomatoes, the black strawberry cherry tomatoes did so well last year, I'm going to try 2 other types and just see what comes of those. So I'm just already thinking about the spring garden. So since thinking about that, when I went out to close up the chicken coop before we got on tonight, I thought, well, you know what? I'm feeling kind of off tonight. The garden always makes me feel better. Let me walk down there and just kind of survey things. So I was, and I realized that, Pollinator Garden had a little spot where they were sitting in it, but it wasn't like too badly damaged. It wasn't like major damage or anything. Just, kind of a dip where they were sitting, and a lot of poo, but that's fine because it'll just be gold compost. So, but then I noticed in one of the beds, they had pulled up some garlic bulbs. I found 3, which really irritated me. And then the tops of garlic are starting to come back up where they were eating them. But where the herb garden is, that great big rock, I stood facing it. And when I was kind of coming around the corner, I was looking, I was like, something doesn't look right. Well, they had dug around my irises to where the roots are showing now. So I'm probably going to plant something different there. Anyway, there was, no lie, this tunnel going underneath the yarrow. It was a hole like this big. I bent down and looked in it, didn't see any critters, but you could see it was like a tunnel straight up to that rock. And so I'm sending Dean down there. He'll probably go down there tomorrow to take a look at it. And of course, the dirt and everything is kind of off over the side of the rocks. So it kind of was like, great, what is living in there now? And I just don't think the chickens did it, because when I was down there and I noticed that they were doing some damage, just the things that chickens do, I didn't notice that big tunnel hole, and I would have noticed that. So it makes me a little nervous because I thought, well, it could be some chipmunks because we have those out here. It's too big of a hole for a mice. I just don't know. So I'll see what Dean says tomorrow. I'll have to let you know. I was missing something here. Oh, let's talk a little bit about Azure. Okay. So for the first time ever, probably because I had a little bit extra time this week, I went through my Azure account on the website and I printed off every single invoice for every single order that I made in 2025. And I wanted to look through it all. And basically what I did is for things that I can, because of course I get things from Azure that aren't staples, that I just, are treats and things I like to try. But like this here, I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't matter. It's onions. And so I just highlighted it and I went through every single invoice for onions and just added the weight. And then I made this little column that says annual. And then I'm just putting down the weight or the number of cases of things that I ordered over the course of a year. Now, last year, I only had 10 months of orders. I'm sorry. It is hot in here. I've got the fire going too hot. I see me sweating. But I only ordered 10 months out of the year last year. I was hoping only to have 9 orders for 2026, but it's going to be 10. I know that there's a lot of stuff on YouTube right now about pantry challenges and things like that. And I guess this is just kind of my own, it's kind of, for me to assess. A lot of people do a whole freezer clean out, fridge clean out, pantry clean out. That's not my goal. My goal is not to say, okay, wipe everything out of here, eat everything, and, start all over again. Because that just defeats the whole purpose of having a budget-friendly pantry. So what I did is I just added up all those things. So annually for onions, we use 40 pounds. So I'm like, okay, I am increasing my onions down in the garden this year. So let's see what we can do. Like my Dr. Bronner soap that I love, I use 9 bars a year. So I'm thinking, of possibly, I don't want to say doing fewer Azure orders, but maybe doing some a little bit larger and just trying to get a whole year's worth in here at one time. I would like to go 3 months over the winter season without having to do any grocery shop, any bulk food ordering. We don't grocery shop like people go to the grocery store and grocery shop. If we go in to Walmart to get prescription or something like that, the dog has a prescription. If I need half and half or something like that, we'll pick it up. But, I don't go in there like I used to and grocery shop. I don't do that at any grocery store. So I kind of wanted to see if I could go 9 months out of the year, how I would do it. I wanted to see what we're using the most of, what I'm kind of like, what do they call it when you're at the checkout and there's a bunch of stuff there and you impulse buy. I wanted to see what maybe could be considered impulse buys that I'm doing through Azure. But I was really impressed with myself because a lot of times I don't pay attention to it during the year. I know basically in my head, what I try to keep us budgeted around. But for the whole total last year, I only spent $5,500 for food the whole year. And part of this is chicken food. So that roughly averages about $457.50 a month, somewhere in there, $460 a month. That is like super good, super, super good. I know that I've had comments about Azure so expensive. And when I first started doing it at first too, I kind of was like, it can be to get started, but once I got that pantry rolling, it took me about 6 months, but once I got it rolling, Now, if I look at it, that for the majority of our food, I'm spending $450 a month. I know my mom spends more than that for her and my dad. And I think she shops every week, I think. Anyway, Azure and Costco. Bree, what do you get? I'm curious because our closest Costco here is 8 hours away. And Sam's Club is in New Mexico, but I lost my romance with them a long time ago. But what do you get at Costco? What do you supplement with Azure? I'm curious because I know some of the things that I don't get at Azure and why. Like I did get their half and half this past time, the 6-pack, and it's still good. It's great. It's very good, very rich. But I put a couple in the freezer, and upon taking them out, even though they're still good, I've cooked with them, but I haven't put them directly in my coffee because the texture changed. And I don't like to see that in my coffee. When you buy like 3 Bonners, you get a discount. What is that? Fruits and fresh vegetables. Oh, you don't get them. See, I guess because around here we have a horrible, horrible selection of anything organic. And I never understood these places being called food deserts, but I do get it now in the more urban areas. But I mean, you can go to the store here and get all kinds of fruits and vegetables, but they're not organic. And I don't know. I got a papaya here because I made this parasite cleanse. That's another story. But anyway, I made this parasite cleanse using papaya seeds. And, so I'm sure that wasn't organic. And I got it at the local market here because the local market here, unless it's marked organic, it's not. Azure Fresh, if you can get it in a large quantity, at least for where I am, it's not more expensive, but you have to get it in a large quantity. And so I think I was routinely buying the Cosmic Crisp apples for fresh eating because we love those. I can't use the lemons fast enough. And I didn't feel like pulling my big dehydrator back in the house. I had dehydrated lemons and dehydrated oranges last year, slices. Loved it. I just didn't feel like doing it this year. So, I got two. Oh my gosh, I got 2 lemons at the store. I'm like halfway through the last one. But for their produce, I don't know. Because we just don't have it here. Like, you can get it organic at Costco. We just don't have it. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it, Lynn. You're buying ingredients, and that's what we do. And right before the holidays, I was surprised. Dean even told me, he says, "Are we eating a little bit of crap?" And I said, "Yep, we are." And it was just because we were getting busy doing stuff, and we went into town a couple of times, which we normally don't do. We usually go into town. It was once a week, but it was just like to get mail and stuff. And then it went to once every 2 weeks. But like we don't go into shops or anything like that. We go to the post. We try to go to the post office once a week just so that the box doesn't get jugged up. And we order plenty of chicken feed, to get us through the winter, dog food. We went into town right before Christmas. Might have even been Christmas Eve. I don't know. But, just to walk around and thought we'd look at decorations and lights and stuff and get coffee. We were so disillusioned. Maybe that's part of my funk tonight. I don't know. But on the beginning of the video that I just put up for 2025, the gingerbread houses, we were downtown and then we were in a coffee shop and they had like this they had all those gingerbread houses because those were ones that people had done entering in this contest. Some of them were really, really good. Anyway, so I was filming those and I got the most bougie peppermint mocha. And it was so pretty. Picture was in there. It didn't do it justice. It was very pretty. Let me tell you what. I took a taste of it. It was the nastiest cup of coffee I have ever had in my life. And it was the most expensive cup of coffee. And I didn't want to not drink it because Dean paid so much for it. And he finally says, "Is it not any good?" And I was like, "You want to taste it?" He's like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh my God." And he says, "Just throw it out." And I was like, "I can't. You paid so much money for it." And he said, "I don't care. It's nasty." So, and maybe it's just us. I don't know because we've gotten so used to doing things here ourselves. Like, I have my own peppermint mocha coffee creamer. I have really good coffee that I use and, stuff like that. So maybe to me, it tasted like mud water with a peppermint stick. It was just, I couldn't finish it all. I tried to, and I even brought the cup home with me, like trying to drink it in the truck. Dean, when we got in the house, he said, "Just throw it out." So I did. I was trying to nurse it and get it down, but it was awful. So yeah. But speaking of coffee, we bought 25 pounds of coffee this year, and I have one 5-pound bag left in the freezer. So not too bad. Your Costco is 75 minutes away, so you go every couple of weeks. That's nice. Now I've heard a lot of good things about Costco. And when we left Virginia, right before we left, Charlottesville had gotten a Costco. And I think at the time we were potentially checking them out, but things happened so fast with our move. I mean, really fast that it just, that was nipped in the bud because there was no point. It's like we put our house on the market. It was the end of February, the very end of February, because we were going out of town. It sold that weekend. It was crazy. When you buy azure lemons, you quarter some and freeze them, then juice the rest and can the juice. Oh, that's a great idea, Sherry. Huh. When you quarter some and freeze them and then juice the rest and can the juice. Have you ever, I did it last year with the basil tea that I made. Have you ever juiced them and like put them into ice cube trays and like, have like these lemon pucks? That is a really good idea. I never thought about doing that. I thought about using them fresh and dehydrating them. I never thought of that. I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, and Lynn, it is sad, and it was more than $7. I didn't know how much it was. We went into this little place. It looked really cute. We'd never been in it before, but we were kind of feeling dumpy because, we were really alone out here this year and feeling kind of isolated. So we went into town. There were no decorations. They had some lights on Main Street around the base of a tree. Around it didn't go up into the tree, like into the tree limbs. It was just like wrapped around, spiraled around the bases of the trees alongside the road. So you really just, it didn't seem real festive or anything. So when I saw the gingerbread houses at first, I thought, oh, that's exciting. But, so then when we went in, because we were like, oh, let's go get coffee and go look around. And so I sat down and was filming these gingerbread houses, and Dean came over and they, had my coffee. I'm like, "Where's yours?" He's like, "I'm not getting one." And I'm like, "Why?" And I was like, "I feel bad now. Why didn't you get a coffee?" He says, "'Cause nothing here appealed to me. It all was very frou-frou coffee, chocolate in it or, peppermint mocha, stuff like that." And he just likes a regular American brewed coffee with his sugar and cream. So we went and just walked farther down and got down to the end of the road. And there was another coffee shop. He got a cup of coffee. I sat in there, was warming up. He came and sat down next to me and he was like, "This is awful." I mean, literally, we left and he threw it in the trash on the side of the road. It was so disappointing. So we didn't see any decorations. We didn't, have like nice coffees. We didn't do the Polar Express this year. We normally do that. We normally get on that train ride, and it is nice. And they have it. It is just like the Polar Express. They have the little show, and they do the hot chocolate and the cookies and all that. And we've gone for the past 2 years. And this year, I just didn't want to do it. And we done it for 2 years, and we have a souvenir mug and the bell and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, well, how many of those mugs can you have? And I just didn't feel like spending the money. And Dean's like, oh, it's Christmas, it's special, but I just I just couldn't get in it this year. And so we didn't do it. And we didn't do the Dottie Wampus chocolate tasting chocolate factory. So, and I started feeling pretty good about things like right before Christmas. So it was just really weird. I did not know you can freeze whole lemons, Brie. Does that change their texture any? I wonder if you can zest them, and I wonder if you zest lemons for if you have to dehydrate that. Just thaw and use as fresh. Thank you, Brie. My back pain. So far so good. I did mention on there, and I wasn't going to do it like in a big video, but I did do a detox, and that detox was off the back medication. Um, I was really sick for almost a week, and I had this injection, which it's been great, and I've even done some PT. Um, but I had this injection, and it was more than your just normal back injection. It was 6 needles because I have facet bilateral facet joint issues now on top of it. So it did great. And so when I came home, and I felt great, and hours later I felt great, I just stopped taking the medicine because I was like, why am I going to take these medicines, these pain meds, these muscle relaxers, if this injection's working great, this nerve block, and I just went off of it. Well, I got real sick within 48 hours. I was real sick. And so I called my doctor's office, and they said, no, go back on it and wean yourself off. So I did. And coming off of the NSAID and the muscle relaxer was no problem. But when I started trying to even weaning myself down off the Lyrica, and I've been taking it for a while, I started getting headache. I had like flu symptoms. I was so sick, and I was weaning myself and still taking it. But then they said after a week of taking just one, stop. And so I did, and I was really sick. And I knew if I went back and took one that I wouldn't be sick, that it would get back in my system. But I was like, no, this is how people get addicted to this stuff. And I just went through it, and I did a whole detox. It was awful, but it was very beneficial because now I'm off of all of it. And, I don't have to worry about another injection until the pain returns. And when the pain returns, they're going to do another injection, and then they'll do the ablation when the pain returns after that. So I asked him if I could just, since he got it all, he got all the right spots. And I asked him if I could just go straight to the ablation, but I don't know why, but they have to have 2 successful nerve blocks before they'll do the ablation. But thank you for asking, Bree. How's your foot doing? Are you 100% yet? Oh, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, no, it was pretty nasty. And I told Dean, he was worried. He was worried. I wasn't worried because I'm too type A of a personality. I hate I hate being out of control. I know we're not in control of everything in life, but of the things I can control with myself, I hate I won't just hand that over. And so when that started happening, He was getting worried. He's like, I'm afraid you're going to get, addicted to it, but like not because you've tried to or whatever. And I was like, no, no. If it makes you feel better, take the bottle, because this is how people get addicted to the stuff. And it was nerve medication, and it does have that tendency about that specific medication. I'd read that, but if I had to go through it, I told him, I said, I'm gearing up, so that I planned it so where I wouldn't be sick Christmas week. And I went off of it the day after Christmas, and I knew it would start. But by the time I made the video, when we made that video, that was my first day of feeling good. So it was worth it. Your foot is improving. Julie, how's the hubby doing? You said he had flu for like almost a week. You ought to try that elixir that I made. Can't hurt. I know. I can only imagine what he would say, though. He wouldn't do it. But I hope he's feeling better. I hope you and Ashley don't get it. But that's just been what's been going on with us around here. So I guess maybe too, it's just the weather, the nasty, wet, muddy weather around here. The snow is beautiful. We've only had one snow this year. We don't ski, but the resorts are shutting down because there's just not enough snow. And there's not a lot of the man-made stuff around here because they do have so much snow. But a lot of the resorts have shut down, or they're like minimal, people that, have standing reservations and stuff, but it's not like you can do the normal things. But we haven't had any snow. It's been rain. It's been muddy. It's been dreary. It's been cold. And I don't know, just feeling the blah. Thank goodness. I feel bad for him, though. Hope he's feeling better. That is some nasty mess. I'm glad you and the kids are okay. And I know you're probably glad he's feeling better too. Some men work well with stuff like that, and then some men have traditional men sicknesses. So I know my mom used to say that she would rather I'm the oldest of 4. And my mom used to say that she would rather have all 4 kids homesick than having just my dad by himself. And now that, yeah, Julie, that's right. They're big babies. And now that I've been with her when he hasn't been well, God forgive me for saying this. I mean, I'm like, Mom, you were a saint, because he's a big baby. Yeah, it's true. And I don't know if my mom's on here or not. Well, it's a playback. You can play it back anyway. But my dad used to get the flu. She said he used to tell her, do you know where my will is? I'm going to die. This is going to kill me. And then after taking care of him, then I would get it. And then all this. And then she would get it. And it already run through everybody else. And then, kind of doing the mom thing, what we do. We just kind of pick ourselves up and say, well, I feel like crud, but life in the house has got to roll. So we just keep on going. And I will say, it's not because he's my son. And maybe it's because he said one time, because like I've said before, we were, the kids and I were alone for several years before Dean came in our lives. And I just broke the chair. And about 6 years. And so my son used to tell me, Mom, you have no idea what it was like growing up in a household of women. So until Dean and I met when he had just turned, right before he turned 13, he was 12. My kids were 11 and 12 when we met. And I will say, and not because he's my son, I'm not one of those type of moms, but he does really well. Um, he would he just does really well. Last year for last, when we went home for Christmas that year, he had gotten pneumonia and he thought he had a chest cold. And I remember telling him, it's deep down in your chest. I can hear it in your voice. You need to go to urgent care. And he's like, no, I don't want to spend the money. I was like, I'm like, you have it. You have the insurance, pay the copay and go. No, I don't want to go. And everybody. So that's one thing with my son. He does not want to go to the doctor. He was really sick as a little boy. He had bacterial meningitis. He was sick for 2 years, really, really sick. And so he hates going to the doctor. But he finally went when he couldn't breathe. And I told him that I wasn't coming home if he didn't go to the doctor. And he went and he had pneumonia. And by the time I got there and was going to go to him, he was at my parents' house. He's like, oh, I just took the medicine. I was fine, you know. But with me being a single mom and still having to work, you know, sometimes I would take off when they were sick. You know, I took off a lot when he had his meningitis, but when they would just regularly get flu and stuff like that, it was just, you know, it was just a different life. And I couldn't be home as much as I wanted to be. So he's really good. I've never seen him like too much of a baby. He's really good. My daughter's a baby. But yeah, but I hope everybody on your end, Julie, is feeling better. We're doing pretty good here. I'm still eating the last of the hard Christmas candy. Knock on wood, we've been well. And every time I say something like that, it's when something happens, but we've been well. Yeah. But no, I mean, and Bree, hearing about the produce, because I was there thinking about this in my mind while we were talking. And I think about it, the stuff, the produce, the fresh produce. If I don't grow it, I do get it through Azure and I can it myself. But I will not be getting apples or pears this year because I still have so many. Oh, but I was going to say, I did not make it to February. I'm not going to make it. I'll have an Azure order in January this month. God. I think the pickup is scheduled for the week of the 18th. And I need to like do a full inventory. But I was getting in the cupboard the other day and I noticed that I have 3 quart jars of carrots left. And I have to look back and see when I canned those because it's been almost a year. So I've got to can some more carrots. I grew some last year. We ate them fresh. So I can try and grow more this year. Since I won't be growing beets, I'll try to grow more carrots and onions. But it was things like that. The dehydrated red peppers I'm being stingy with now because I've only got like a third of the jar. And there was several things. I'm trying to remember what it was. But I have like 16 items in my basket right now. And I just thought I'd like figured it out better than that. But I want to make sure that I don't miss something. Like I'm down to 5 pounds of butter. And to some people are like, 5 pounds of butter, that's plenty. But when you're buying ingredients and making all your own food, you can go through 5 pounds of butter, you know, relatively quickly. And I need to get back into making our bread. All I did was make rolls for the holidays. And so we weren't eating sandwiches. We were eating when we would go into town, we would get little snacks and things like that. And that's why Dean said we were eating like crap. We wouldn't eat our meals. You know, we still ate at home, but it was just, you know, every time we went out, we were snacking, treating ourselves because it was the holidays. Oh, look, they have this special ice cream. Oh, look, special coffee, you know, oh, let's try this. And we were starting to feel the effects of it. When you have gone to eating clean, I mean, whole foods, fruits, vegetables, making your own meals, not using ultra processed, prepackaged products, your body feels different. And so when you go back and you start maybe eating some ultra processed, prepackaged stuff, when you grab a bag of Chex Mix and, you know, a cranberry Sprite or whatever that is, ginger ale or whatever. Um, and I say that because that's a snack I grabbed one day. You feel it. You will feel it. It won't be right away because your body knows what to do with it. But within a few times of doing that, your body's going to look at you and say, hey, this is crap. I don't like it. We got it out of our system once before. And make your own snacks. So, lettuce, Brie, you're talking about lettuce, broccoli, mushrooms. Yeah, mushrooms. My husband has a salad every day for lunch, and I get 4 dozen eggs. Do you have chickens or do you order them, the eggs? Good on your husband. You know, wintertime's a perfect time to be eating salads. People don't realize that, but the greens love the colder weather. I didn't realize that for a long time too. But yeah, lettuce, because lettuce, spinach, collards, things like that, I will not buy them in the store anymore, especially prepackaged. I don't know about you guys. This is a totally different coast. Um, but out here in the Southwest, they have had so many recalls for E. coli and all this other mess. And we just had a bunch of beef pulled. Of course, I didn't buy any. I still am finishing up that half beef we bought last year, but they had a bunch of beef pulled for E. coli. And I know that, you know, you can easily get stuff in your food, and they say, oh, if you cook it properly, you'll cook it out and things like that. But I will never forget, real quick, I'll tell you, we went to Ohio one time. Dean and I were traveling, and this was before our lifestyle changed and all that. And we went through a Wendy's just to get a hamburger on the road. We were hungry and wanted to get there. And so I got a regular cheeseburger, had lettuce and tomato on it. And let me tell you, later, like in the middle of the night, I got up and I was so sick. The whole weekend we were there, I was sick. And while I was laying in bed on Sunday, we saw a thing on the news while we were in Ohio that there had been a recall on lettuce. And I forget why it was, but I was like, I'm sick. I'm sick because of that lettuce. I know that's what it is. And it was in that general area. And I have never eaten at Wendy's since. I know that it's not the food chain. I know that it's not the store, whatever. I cannot get over that feeling. And I have never eaten lettuce and stuff like that out since. So we grow it. When it goes away, that's all. Microgreens. I have not, Lynn. I've heard a lot about them, and I was listening to some things about them, thinking about it this year. But they say they're really, really good and really good for you. This is the perfect time of year to do that. Well, good, Bree. You've done that. So I know some people use the microgreens like on wraps and sandwiches and stuff like that. I'm not a great big fan of sprouts, so I've never tried the microgreens. That's the reason why. But I've heard some people say like they're really good in salads. They have like a really peppery type flavor. I'm just more traditional with my salad. I don't know. I don't care for sprouts, so I haven't done microgreens because I didn't think I would like them. But I shouldn't be that way. I should still try them. I just didn't want to invest in getting the equipment if I wasn't going to like them. Eat them like salad. That would take a lot, wouldn't it, to make a whole salad? I would think. I don't know. I just haven't tried it. I think that I think they have the starter kits through Azure, that they have the starter kits for microgreens, for growing microgreens. It would probably like be uplifting anyway to be able to grow something in the dead of winter where you are and where I am. Nothing grows in the dead of winter out here. Sunflower microgreens. I thought I'd seen something like that, Brie, that Azure sold microgreens. They are bigger than sprouts. Huh. Might have to look into that. But I thought they sold like a tray too. Azure had like a little kit and it has like a screen on it and where the sprouts can grow through it or something. But I need to get back on my sourdough because I found my recipe. It's not my recipe. It's a recipe I got online, goodness knows how long ago. And it is an old recipe. I forget where I found it, but the recipe itself is like 100 years old. And sourdough was not the thing back in the day that it is now, because like when you were on a cattle drive or out working, when you truly were in the days of pioneer times, um, that's how they made their bread. They caught the wild yeast in the air by making the sourdough. And so I have this great biscuit recipe. I've never been one to be great at making biscuits. My grandmother was fantastic. And when I used this recipe and used like a cup of my sourdough mix, they were the biggest, fluffiest, nicest biscuits. And I remember when I did them for the first time, I took pictures and sent them to my mom and was like, I can make biscuits now. And they looked so good. They were good. And when I would make them big enough that we could have like small sandwiches, like breakfast sandwiches and stuff. So, because I don't like a dry biscuit. I don't like it to crumble when I bite into it. It has to be a nice size, almost be the buttery, just so that it doesn't fall apart. Oh, that sounds good. So Brie did sourdough rolls and sourdough cinnamon rolls for Christmas. I didn't even I didn't make any cinnamon rolls. I was supposed to, and I don't know how I forgot it, but I forgot to make dessert for Christmas Day dinner. How in the world do you forget something like that? I don't know. We had plenty of food, but and thankfully I was feeling well enough to do all of it. But we did not have dessert on Christmas Day dinner. I'm glad I just stuffed him full of everything else. Lynn, if you would like me to do a video on that, I most certainly will. Just let me know. And you're talking about the sourdough, correct? Making the sourdough, getting the starter going and making the biscuits? Or are you talking about something else? Did sprouts in a canning jar, the ring, and a piece of screen across the top. I have seen people do that. And is that all you need, Sherry? Is just the canning jar, the ring, and the piece of screen? Do you have to like rinse them or anything to keep them from getting, slimy or anything? Brie, it happens. I followed, you kept killing your sourdough starter. I made one sourdough starter that I killed. And I think it's because I made it out of my Betty Crocker Better Homes and Garden. No, I made it out of my Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. I did not have any clue about anything about sourdough. And I was like, oh my God, what a mess. And then, and I just dumped it out. It was such a mess. And so then I had read more about it and I thought, I'm going to try this again. And when I kept it simple and I don't weigh anything, I don't, precise measure things. When I just kept it simple and I kept telling myself, Sarah, if people on a wagon trail can do this, you can figure it out. And the way that I did it, I got it going and it stayed good for a long time. And it wasn't until I let mine die because when was it? It's been a while, but I let it die because I was tired of fooling with it. What I should have done is put it in the back of my refrigerator and just left it there to hibernate. But I just got tired of fooling with it. And so the last time that I used any starter when it got really low, I just added a little bit, I just used what was left in the jar and didn't keep it. But apparently you get one going well enough. I mean, you can like take the starter and gives to somebody else and, on and on. Penelope. That is so cool. You've had your starter for 10 years, Lynn. That is great. So when you get tired of messing with the sourdough starter and you don't want to bake anything from it for a little while, let's say it's summertime and you're just so busy, do you just put yours in the refrigerator and let it hibernate, or what do you do? Or do you just continue to just keep rolling with all your baking? And Lynn, when you were asking me to do a video about that, is that what you're talking about, the sourdough? Definitely let me know, because anytime you guys request video or, like the video Bree, inspired, saying, oh yeah, no, people want to see a big pantry in a small space. And I was just like, I was so nervous because my space is really small. And I thought, wow, I'm really opening up myself online here, because thank God I haven't had it to where, I haven't had a bunch of nonsense from online people. I'm very thankful for that, because, yeah, I'm very thankful for that. I've only had it happen twice and I dealt with it right away. But I thought, wow, opening myself up, I could, you just don't know what people will respond with. But it really went over well. And Bree was right. They did want to see about pantries and storage and stuff like that in small spaces and just different ideas. So I felt a lot better after doing it. So I always want to listen to you guys, because, this is the reason why, we do what we do. And we're here to help each other and share with each other and, take ideas from each other. And if there's something in particular that you are questioning or want to see or anything, just always let me know and I will always do it. Oh, let's see. Need to get back up here in the chat. Okay, good, Lynn. I will do that. I love all things sourdough. Yeah, we do too. We do too. And that stuff is expensive. Even on Azure, you cannot buy a box of crackers. It's too expensive. Sourdough recipes. You just cut down the feeding amount. Do you keep yours in the refrigerator or on the counter? See, I've always just kept mine on the counter. Too much going on this holiday, so I cheated and bought Christmas dinner from the Honey Baked Ham store. I did have to make gluten-free, dairy-free sides for Ash. Oh, Julie, do not condemn yourself for that. Your family has been going through so much, and the Honey Baked Ham store is yummy. Don't beat yourself up with everything that you've been going through. You put dinner on the table, and that's what matters. So I did not know Ash was gluten-free, dairy-free. I hope she doesn't have celiacs or anything like that, does she? Or is that just the diet she desires? You only take her out when you need a loaf of bread, the sourdough biscuits. That is an awesome recipe. I mean, it is so old, and I haven't done it in a while, I think because I had it either on the computer or on my phone. And I was upset because I thought, oh my God, where is it? I need to write it down on a recipe card. But I will do that. The fridge. Yeah. I can't believe I broke this chair. I put my foot on the rung and it popped. So I'm sure Dean can fix it. I just hate that though. But it looks like we're at our hour mark. Thank you guys so much. I missed you last week. I was thinking about you guys, wondering if everybody had a great Christmas and holiday and all that kind of stuff. Julie, I hope everybody in your family is feeling better soon. Every single person. I want everybody to be really healthy in this new year. But thank you for joining tonight. I've loved chatting with all of you and just picking up where we left off. And hopefully we'll have a year full of adventure and blessings. So thanks everyone. And I will see you soon and we'll chat later. Take care.